Welcome back to Zaka Stokvel Insights. This week, we look at investment Stokvel groups and the various investment opportunities available within the markets with my resident guest expert, Thabiso Masudubele. Thabiso, growth is, a core issue for a lot of Stokvels. So what does it mean for them?
I think growth means additional resources. It means being able to achieve the objectives that we set out. It means increased benefits for the individual members, because you'll recall that members join Stokvels to get individual benefit. So how do I arrive at maybe, getting something? It would have taken me longer, but through a Stokvel it takes me shorter. So I'll explain by just using a quick example. So we have one group in Mpumalanga, they get together, but with their contributions, they don't pay each other out. What they do is they then go to a retailer that sells building materials, and their objective is to ensure that each and every member has a property portfolio. So what they do is when it's your turn to get resources, you get a voucher to go to one of the retailers that sell building materials, and then you build. So over a 3-year period, each of the members has on average 3 properties. The building of a varsity in Mpumalanga helped some of them because then they got students as tenants to that. So growth in that sense means that as an individual, you're able to acquire a property asset much quicker than it would take you getting a bond, for instance, where you'd have to pay the bond off for 20, 30 years. But through the Stokvel and getting all of these building materials and how they've structured their group meant that they were able to attain this growth much, much quicker. So that's the positive side of growth, increased resources and so on. Obviously, we can't ignore the disadvantages. More money, more problems. So you've got a situation where you've got more people contributing, your kitty is bigger, you're able to achieve more. But because you've got more people, the admin then becomes a lot more challenging because you've got different voices, you've got different mechanisms, you've got to make sure that you serve a whole lot more interests with groups. You've got, no longer do you have 10 voices that have different opinions. Now you've got 20 voices that have different opinions. So you have to navigate and make sure that the leadership that you have as you grow is able to grow with the Stokvel itself, meaning that you can't have leaders who are capacitated to deal with a group of 10 people continuing with a group of 20, 30 people. They also have to improve on their skill sets, and if they can't keep up with that growth, you then have to look at different people who can deal with the demands of a growing group.
Now, just looking at Baitsusi Investment Group, they currently have 20 members. Is this a good number to start off with?
Firstly, it would depend on what the objectives are. With Baitsusi as an investment, I think 20 is a good number, because remember, they've stagnated a bit. So it's better to stagnate when you have relatively small at 20. So 20 allows them the opportunity to go what we'd call trial and error in terms of managing the group, in terms of decision making, which route the group is going to take. Because you can imagine if they were stagnating and they aren't able to take decisions, and now they're sitting at 50 members and there are a lot more resources that are sitting in the bank, it would be helter-skelter. So it's a good number for them. They should look at making sure that they get the house in order from an admin point of view, making sure that systems are in place, making sure that the objectives, the constitution, one of the things that they definitely look at is their constitution. It should guide them in terms of what they should be looking at, and it should have timelines. Because I think for them the biggest challenge is the procrastination and not implementing resolutions that they would have taken.
Now, they have aspirations of registering as a financial services provider. How do they start this process?
Again, it's very admin intensive. So registering as an FSP happens with an organization called the FSCA, the Financial Services Conduct Authority. There are a lot of requirements. I mean, there's a whole file worth of application that you have to complete. Some of the things have to do with, you have to have, communication instruments, you have to have fit and proper individuals who are there. They're going to require what's referred to as a KI, a key individual, who's the person essentially who's responsible for that license. So the application, the start of the application process happens with that entity called the FSCA. But the requirements there will then guide them to say, this is what you need. You need to have this group, you need to have a key individual, you need to submit financial statements at the end of the year. You need to, as a financial service provider, have an address, have contact details, whether it's a phone, whether it's a fax, whether it's email. You have to have all of those things in place as a group to meet some of those requirements towards getting a license from the FSCA.
Now, would it be wise for them to opt for this because they're already struggling, with financial management? Would it be the right time to opt for this?
Not at all. Remember, we said that they first have to get their house in order. So they should then say, we have an objective of making sure that we apply for an FSP license. But in order to get there, there are certain things that we have to get. So they've been stagnant on the issue of some of the decisions that they took or they haven't taken. So moving on, getting an FSP is adding on to the to-do list, which they haven't even completed some of those things. So the important thing is to look at their current administrative system and improve on that. Once at least they've achieved that, they'll have a bit more confidence to say, this system will allow us to apply for the license. It will allow us to start, investing in different things that we want to do. And also they need to understand why would they want to get an FSP license, because there are different licenses.
So basically there's a whole lot more boxes that need to be ticked before they start the process.
100%.
There are many investment opportunities offered in the markets, and it's important to ensure that you choose one that is appropriately registered with the financial services provider, often called an FSP. If you would like to ensure that you and your Stokvel are investing through a legitimate registered FSP, please do contact us using the details on this screen below. Until next time, goodbye.
This program was brought to you by Tyvision Media, helping Stokvels and burial societies reach their goals.